which is like your lifeblood, that thing that you feel that you need in order to create your craft?
Oh, it's a great question.
Oh my gosh, that's a good question.
Come to me. Hear my call. Come to me.
Thank you so much for having me. Congratulations on the film.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad I can talk to you.
Thank you.
And I love the concept that Robert uses about like kind of exhuming Nosferatu for new generations. But I think also that bringing things from the past can carry its own curses. Which were others like maybe unexpected difficulties that you found in creating your characters and making the movie?
Some of the difficult things that don't sound difficult now, but I remember being the small technical details to make things work, because Rob and Jaren have such a vision in terms of how the shots are going to play out and how the scenes are going to sit and fit together. There would be like things that I've never experienced before in a beautiful way, where they know that to get the camera to the position they need it in one shot, they need they need a wall that was in view at first to fly away so that the camera can get there. And all these minute technical things that then you have to make allowances for with everything else. And everything has to work in perfect unity for it to then end up being captured on film. So it's the thing of recreating those elements with tiny tweaks, emotionally still being present and giving a performance that's honest and true, whilst being aware of all the technical aspects that are going on around it. And that's something that I thought Lily did incredibly well with, particularly when you were to be so physical in terms of your performance in certain scenes, where it's like to still be so specific with notes and details within that whilst completely kind of losing yourself within the emotion of what was happening, and the physicality of it was incredible to witness.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like it was really like a team effort of like, you know, because there were so many shots where it's like, it's not just this person's coverage or this person's coverage. It's like, it's a whole, you know, there were moments of it that almost felt like a play. You know, everybody who's acting in the scene has to be on the same page and has to hit all the right notes. It's like, you have to really dance with the camera and the lighting and the walls that are moving, and everything in the environment has to be like really, you know, symbiotic. And it's, you know, and it's a dance, you know, you gotta get there.
I don't know if there were any unexpected difficulties. I mean, there were things that were challenging, but in a positive way. Like they were interesting to tackle as an actor. Like the costumes were really accurate to the period. So like there were really intense corseting, and the weight of the dresses was like, it was tons of fabric. And that obviously makes you stand and move and be able to express yourself in a completely different way.
I mean, I feel like we sat outside of it all, but I think if you could very much absorb a lot of the darkness around you, because it did feel like there was like an eeriness.
Yeah.
But then also, you could also...
I think because it was a very focused set, which meant that it didn't feel dark, but it just felt quite...
Yeah.
And everyone was so nice.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I think I find kind of a similarity between both of you and Emma and the professor you portrayed, because their relationship is really like peculiar, but they have like a deep and genuine understanding and empathy for each other. And in your case, I feel like your collaboration is grounded on a really deep mutual trust and creativity. So I wanted to ask you, how do you feel that this dynamic impacts the storytelling of Nosferatu?
Yeah, I think that Willem said that he wanted to play this role because he thought that it was the role that I would want to play. It's true. But I think it does speak to the way in which, like, you know, Willem understands my psychology and me as a filmmaker, and I don't think about what I'm trying to express or what I'm trying to say. It just comes out. But he knows what it is that sort of rings my bell. Okay. You know.
He put his finger on it. I mean, I'm sort of the same way as an actor. He gives me fun things to do. He gives things that make me learn something or get to exercise some kind of pleasure, curiosity. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. As a director, he gives you a beautiful world because he's so thoughtful and so detailed. He also is very clear about his direction. It's like a call and response that's very clear. I trust him because I know there's a great part of him that's like an actor.
I mean, really, I'm more Von Franz to his Ellen.
That's a parallelism right there.
Well, the director to actor as, you know, like psychologist to patient, you know, there's something there.
So in the movie, the vampires needs blood in order to survive. I wanted to ask you, which is like your lifeblood, like that thing that you feel that you need in order to create your craft?
Coffee. Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I don't know if I need anything particularly to create my craft, but I think in life, if I don't have, like I have such amazing friends and family, you know, those kind of people who are in your life who you love, they form such a rock and a foundation that then you feel emboldened to go out and do your best and do your work. So I think probably that. And my dog.
Yeah, I think the same, and I think also, like, I guess collaboration. I guess I feel like I need to be inspired, and then once I've got like you read a great script, you see a character, you can then you can sort of breathe life into it and bring it off the page. So I guess if I'm given a little bit of inspiration, I can then roll with that, and my imagination goes, and I think that's that sort of crux of creativity is what I need for sure to sort of feed my soul.
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, I think there's so many things that go into it. I think for this one specifically, it was so, you know, for both of us, I feel like the roles were very demanding physically and emotionally, and so I think that if speaking for myself, if I personally hadn't had like the guidance and the trust that I got from Rob, I feel like it would have been really difficult. Like I think just having a team around us that felt like so completely invested and passionate about the project makes you feel like you're just, you know, you're just all right there together, and it's very like unifying. And I feel like, you know, it was a very technical movie. There's, you know, the camera work is incredible and so specific, and you have to learn to really like dance with the camera. There's a lot of takes that are just like a one take, you know, there's not a lot of like cutting, and so I think you really have to find like a unity and like a team feeling, and I feel like we had that, which is great.
Yeah, completely. I think that's the most important thing, that everyone being committed to this thing that's bigger than you, this story that everyone's passionate about telling, and that's inspiring, because then everyone's just doing their best to support everyone each day, and you also feel this trust and safety in terms of like just turning up and giving it your all, and yeah, that would be the most important thing.
Willem, you mentioned creativity, and I think that your character, Professor Von Franz, has a really unique method that some people consider like a little bit too eccentric and questionable. So I wanted to ask you, as an actor, do you have a kind of a technique that you like to use that some people might consider a little bit unconventional?
Not really. I mean, I think you have to adapt your approach to each film that you do and to each situation. So there's no method. I always am trying to find a new way to do things. I just think the one thing that's very basic is I'm into doing things and putting myself into doing things, and when you do things that get you away from patterns, you start to think in a different way, you start to learn things, and then you're transformed, and that opens the door to applying that kind of new energy, that new knowledge, that new love to being another character. I hear a lot of actors talk about that, but you know, it doesn't matter how you get there, it's about what happens, and I just know that Robert sets me up well, so I'm always happy to be in his movies.
And it's great, you know, for the, you know, this cast of, you know, youngish actors to see Willem just doing, you know, and then they kind of feel like, oh, like I don't need to be so self-conscious and weighed down by all these things. I can just activate, you know.
When people talk about acting, I think they talk a lot, people love to talk about, oh, that's an interesting choice. The idea, almost like an actor is trying to show something or trying to tell the audience something. That's not my approach. My approach is to have something to happen to me and have it be, hopefully I'll be clear enough and transparent enough that people can be with me. I can be their dancer in front of the campfire, you know, and I like that position. And the way I get that privilege is trying to be sincere and being clear and not doing it for myself, doing it for mystery, for curiosity, throwing yourself off the cliff. And that, in the best, you can't always do it, but in the best situations, you can. And that's what is exhilarating. I think of a good example is when they buried me in the lighthouse. That was exhilarating.
Bill Skarsgard, who's not here, and he's really someone known to like disappear with his performances and characters. How did he like impacted your character and the atmosphere on set with his
I feel like I didn't have to like work that hard to act scared of him. It was kind of easy because I was really like, this is so scary. In one of my scenes with him where like, it was a, you know, it was a tricky scene technically and everything, and we were like doing it a lot and everything, and just seeing him after a while, it's almost like a hypnotic thing when you're like doing a scene over and over again and finding it. And just like, I remember just like seeing him for so long in this petrifying form, I remember starting to feel like I was like in a nightmare. I was like, this is so scary.
Yeah, the atmosphere, would you say, sort of kind of heavy?
Yeah.
With him on set, it felt. Also, he had hours and hours in prosthetics. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and I think you feel a lot of sympathy for.
Yeah, and when he was on set, there was a certain focus because of that, because of what he's wearing is
He's
so
uncomfortable,
intense and
yeah.
uncomfortable that you have to be like really on it. And yeah, I think you're right. His focus in a role and he does get lost in it. I think we all hung out and had so much fun outside of shooting, but you know, when you're on set, he's totally lost in that character, which is so impressive because what a dark place to exist for
Yeah, the
a few months.
dedication.
Yeah, the dedication is incredible.
Your dedication is also amazing. Thank you so much for this movie, and thank you so much for talking to me. It's a real pleasure talking to you. I admire both of your works, and I hope you can visit Mexico very soon.
Hopefully.
Us too. Thank you so much.